Friends, this is Dolores Williams of DW's Views Stand Up. If we do not stand up for what we believe, who will? This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. My sponsor helps keep this podcast on the air. I want to thank my sponsor, my peak performance coach, also Ms. Kim Yater. If you're feeling stuck in any part of your life and you don't know which way to go, whether personal or professional, then you need to request a complimentary session with my coach, Kim Yater. You can reach her at Calendly, CALENDY.com/Kim, KIM Yater, YEATER. It's okay to be stuck, but it's not okay to stay stuck. Dear friends, I want to introduce you to my special guest today. But first, I want to thank my audience for coming each week and for listening to these podcasts. I don't take you for granted. And today, Mrs. Colleen Marie is my special guest. I've known her for a few years. Now, Colleen is an American patriot who loves America. Now, Colleen is a bonded and insured estate planning LDA and legal document assistant. I'm not going to say any more about her. You got to read about her. That'll inspire you to come back. Colleen Marie, please be welcome to DW's View Stand Up.
Good.
How are you today?
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited to get started. Now, tell me, what do you love about America?
I don't know where to begin. It's the most wonderful place in the world. You know, when you think about, I often think about what goes on in the world and where people live in the world and the way people have to live in the world. And I count the blessings that I was raised here in the United States. My dad was the first one ever born here. So we just love America. We were raised to love the country, to love God and each other.
Great. That is great. Now, I know you said your dad is from Ireland. Do you still have relatives in Ireland?
We have some family in Ireland. I've never been to Ireland, but we do have some family there. My dad is the youngest, was the youngest. He's gone to heaven now, bless his soul. But my aunts and uncles were all born in Ireland. My father was the first one born here.
Okay, that's wonderful. Now, tell me about your 90-year-old mother. People just got to hear this. Colleen's mother is 90 years old, and she's still teaching the Argentine tango in Manhattan. How in the world does she keep herself going at 90 years old, and who does she teach?
Well, she really is an incredible woman, very, very active. She is part of the Argentine tango community. She will tell you it's an addiction. And she has a partner that she's been dancing with for a number of years, and they teach and also do demonstrations. In fact, I was back there just a month ago. We went to Queens, we watched a flamenco show, and then a week my mother and her partner were invited to the stage for a demonstration. So she's still dancing, she's teaching, and she says that's what keeps her young.
Oh, I can imagine. Wow, would love to see her on video.
Yes.
Yeah. Now your husband was in the military, and that's what brought you to California. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, I had come to California beforehand. I had friends that I visited out here. I was living in upstate New York. I'm originally from New Jersey, but I was talking to friends in California, and I came out to visit, and I thought, what am I doing in Syracuse, New York, when this place is on the mainland United States? It was amazing. So I moved here in 1990, and then over the years, I met my husband and married him in 1998. So he is retired from the Marine Corps. So he's a retired captain, and he went into the Marine Corps right from high school, and then Mustanged over, as they say in the military, and then got his education in the military, and was an aircraft maintenance officer before retiring.
Wonderful. That is wonderful. Now, I know now for your career, you have an insurance agency. And what kind of insurance do you work with? And do you work with individuals and businesses as well?
Yeah, I have an insurance brokerage. I have worked for all the big dogs in the park, as they say. You know, the Allstates, the State Farms, the Farmers. I've worked for the big carriers. In 2007, I sold off any of those contracts I had and I began to broker. And we handle everything from personal lines, which is your home, auto, you know, your condominiums or toys that you might have, boats or jet skis, things of that sort, to commercial. So we do workers' comp and commercial insurance, business insurance, as well as your setting up of your retirement accounts and your 401ks and rolling out after you retire. So we have an organization that really focuses on both uh, protecting your assets, both with insurance products and estate planning products.
Oh, okay, great, great. Now, would you tell us, now in your business, would you explain the process of assisting your customers with self-directed preparation, funding, and administration of the estate planning documents?
That's a really great question. Most people have no idea. They think that if you have an estate plan or you have a trust, it's because, you know, you must own a castle and have a moat around it, you know, when in fact, if your property in the state of California, your property can be protected by one of the few things left that we have in common law, which is a revocable living trust. And under the code in California, somebody like myself, somebody who is an LDA registered with the county that they're in and bonded in California, is recognized by the state of California to assist you with your legal document preparation. Now, I happen to specialize in estate planning. So I do revocable living trust, wills, power of attorneys, medical power of attorneys, pour over wills, all the same products that you get from an attorney. In fact, I'm a vendor for some attorneys. So, and we make those products available to the average person because there's just the price point sometimes when you go to an attorney is so high that it creates a barrier and people don't end up doing it or taking care of their documents on a timely basis. So we really focus on being able to assist the average consumer and get them where they want to go. They self-direct. We cannot give them any legal advice. We have attorneys refer you to if you need that. But these are for, you know, if you're going on LegalZoom or you're trying to put things together, if you come to us and you know what you want and you tell us what to do, we can put it down and make sure it's put together the way that you intended.
Oh, great, great. Now as a paralegal slash LDA, now I know you just mentioned about legal advice, but what kind of legal advice are you able to give?
Interestingly enough, the law is very clear. As a paralegal, you work under the supervision of an attorney. I am a paralegal, so when I work with attorneys, I'm working as a paralegal. But as an LDA, I work under the supervision of the consumer. We are not allowed to give the consumer any, quote, legal advice that you have to get from an attorney. So interestingly enough, in California, there is right now legislation pending. It's being bantered about now, and they're coming up with how the language is going to be. That's going to allow us to give some legal advice. It's called a paraprofessional. So once that passes and is put together, there will be parts that are considered right now legal advice that will be allowed to do and maybe even appear in court. But at this time, LDAs are prohibited from giving legal advice.
Oh, okay, okay. Now, what do you think about the bail laws where criminals are let out of jail with no bail?
Well, I really think that this is something that is a result of activism, I believe, on the part of judges. There is code in California for how bail is set. And the way it's arranged right now, the courts have ruled, the Supreme Court in California ruled that if somebody couldn't afford to pay bail, then they shouldn't have to post bail. And I'm not so sure that were proper legislative procedures that went into place that allowed that. It could very well be purely activism. These are issues, I think, that we often see happening, and we just don't know what to do about them. And or we think that the proper procedures have taken place. I don't believe the proper procedures have taken place, and they need to be challenged through the proper legislative channels to prevent that kind of activity. This would be like, Dolores, you know, I can't afford to make a car payment, but so you should just give me the car.
Yeah,
It's the same
exactly.
kind of thinking.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, I think. And I'm not I'm not anyway well versed in law, but some things are just common sense. Now, what do you now when judges continue, this is something that kind of irks me. When judges continue to empty out jails and they let criminals out of jail with no bail, then these people go out and maim and murder someone. Should these judges be held accountable when they continue to let people out of jail? Some of them the same person appearing before a judge, and you still let them out of jail and they go out and either kill or maim someone. Who should be accountable for that? Should the judge or?
Well, I think that you bring up another great point, another area where we can no longer just sit back and allow these things to happen. Legally, judges are exempt, immune from civil damages, any monetary damages for decisions that they make. So I can understand that if a judge is following procedure and following the guideline, and then, you know, issues some kind of a judgment, that they should have certain protections. But I think when we have rules that are being made by decree and then being backed up by the courts, when all of the other legislative processes have been skipped, I believe that we should, in my opinion, that kind of protection should be removed from judges. So, you know, you're really down in the weeds, and we're really talking about the different points that the liberal agenda has moved through all of these different phases through the legal system by sidestepping these things and using the rules we do have, like judicial immunity, to shield judges from any backlash from these decrees that are being made from state to state. You're bringing up issues that we can no longer ignore.
Yeah, and I look at public safety, you know, people are put in danger because of people who are let out of jail. I've been looking at so many in the last year in particular. It's really been terrible. But anyway, now staying on the judges,
Yes.
let's discuss defunding, defunding of the police, rather. Now, with your knowledge of the law, how do you deal with the rise in crime across the nation? Do you think the defund of the police movement is about replacing the police departments and having the government take over policing? Is that a possibility?
Well, I suppose it could be. I think that it's always about the money. I think that, in fact, there's an activist, a liberal activist by the name of John Oliver, who defines defunding the police as, you know, reallocating funds to, let me just think about how he actually said it. He said, it's moving away from this narrow perspective of public safety that relies on policing and punishment, and instead investing in community. So this is the way it's packaged, okay? But I really believe it's about the money. So they move the money away from the police departments and they move it into community organizing. And that is now adding extra funds to organizations that have been utilized in order to really undermine the underpinnings of American life. And, you know, where are you going to get the extra money? I think that the whole defunding the police movement is about reallocating funds to things that the Communist Democratic Party wants to use the money for. And that, you know, the unintended consequences are the very people that supposedly they claim to be protecting are being murdered and killed in the streets, and nobody's doing anything about it. Meanwhile, there's plenty of money going to places that are not solving that problem. Now, eventually they'll have to address it. And perhaps another step is to get the government involved in policing. But I think the immediate reason for doing it is to reallocate money to other things that they want to use that money for.
Yeah, that's true. But I certainly don't want to see the government take over policing. It'll be just like everything else that they take over. They just ruin it.
Yeah,
That's
you're talking about like a tapestry of things. You know, these are
yeah.
all little pieces of the puzzle that are all being, worked on.
Yeah, and one person, very interesting man. His name is George Soros. He's a Hungarian billionaire. Now, this man, he's an atheist, hates America, but he influences our elections by pouring billions of dollars into getting people elected to office who will do the bidding of people who don't care for the country. And I know George Soros he's been, so many front groups, so many ways that he puts money in different places, different pockets, so many organizations have a whole big sheet of papers with all the stuff that he's involved in, which is detrimental to law enforcement in the country. And I don't know how he gets away with that. He's not an American. I don't know if he's an American citizen or not, but George Soros, I might even get kicked off of Facebook for even mentioning his name. That's how powerful he is. but we have to tell the truth about the people who are destroying this country. And he is a man that's on a tear. To look at first, I think about the attorney general who was just elected in Los Angeles and who I believe that they're recalling. Garcetti, I think his name is, but yes. He is doing some terrible things, and that's just one of them. And he tried to put one here in San Diego, and that didn't work. But he's gone throughout the country and helped these attorneys generals get elected, who are just destroying law abiding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll tell you, if you really look at George Soros's money came from, in 1987, 1988, he mysteriously was able to sell off all kinds of stuff, made him a billionaire right before a crash. And in 2002, the French courts convicted him of money. Now, he literally made billions of dollars. And he appealed that and lost it. He was fined $2.9 million, which obviously is a small price to pay for that kind of a crime. But meanwhile, he has been funded through different organizations that he puts together, all kinds of movements in the country where he's originally from. Even the Hungarian, at the time, communist state, allowed him and his organizations to work on modernizing their schooling and business system. Does that sound familiar? I mean, that's crazy. Now, in 2017, that's a year after Donald Trump was elected, he invested $18 billion in organizations like MoveOn.org and the Center for American Progress.
Yeah.
These kinds of, I think it's very ironic that these billions and billions of dollars are pouring in through these organizations that are just so anti-American. And he has his hands in hundreds of organizations like this to move that kind of money. So you're right, this person is, he hates America. He wrote a book. I can't remember the exact title of it, but it had to do with pointing out all of the negative aspects of a free market system. And, it had to do with global capitalism and how that's a terrible thing. And he wrote that book, years ago. So this is his agenda.
Yeah, yet he benefits from capitalism. So
absolutely, yes, it's always the way it is. You have in the communist countries, it's always the people that touch the money, and then there's the rest of everybody.
Yeah. Yep.
He doesn't mind living that way.
Oh no, that's right. Now, the language of our country is being destroyed. And I've mentioned this before, the surname, Mr., Mrs., boy, girl, all that stuff. And the latest one they just came up with is that women are called birthing people. I heard that
Yeah.
and I almost, wait a minute, I almost fell off my chair. They said women are birthing people. I just can't even comprehend that. Birthing people.
Yes,
And
it really, it's it's one of the specialties I think that the liberal movement has. It takes long, even if you look at the Soros, he has Open Society Foundation, the Center for American Progress. You see that how language is used to control people and change their perception. And, as conservatives and God-loving people, we have to really get better at that. Have to be able to start to define things and put through the definitions, just as this liberal movement is doing. They will redefine everything, but they can't do it in a vacuum. We have to, really step up and start fighting that with our own language.
yeah, that is so true. Now, legally, Colleen, and I wanted to talk to you because of your law background.
Mhm.
Now, the schools need parents' permission to disperse medicine. Now, how are they able to get away with these puberty blockers that are given to children? The children are confused, and they're making adult decisions that will castrate these children and alter them permanently by giving them these blockers without parents even knowing some they're giving this stuff to children who are confused about whether I'm a boy, whether I'm a girl. And there was a teacher named Tanner recently who stood up just a couple of weeks ago, stood up for his students and said, no, I'm not going for this nonsense. This young man was fired. He had to
Yeah.
get legal representation to get his job back and hope that that job stays secure. This is
Mhm.
what's happening in America. We've gone crazy. Now, shouldn't there be an age limit or something where children are protected from making these kind of detrimental decisions? And parents should be involved. And some parents are unfortunately loony as well. But children should be protected regardless of who they are.
Yeah, you would think that this is all of these issues that are just no brainers. Of course, children shouldn't be having their biology manipulated, even if it's on whimsical thinking. And when you have them being indoctrinated from very, very early. I mean, I even think about it myself. I think about when I remember when you were in school, Dolores. I mean, I had
Yeah.
friends, my little friends, my girlfriends, and it was like I loved them. They were my friends.
Yes.
And if I had somebody saying to me, well, you know what that means, if you love your friend, then you give kids
Yeah.
these, kids are easy to indoctrinate and manipulate. And then to have them taking steps where you're playing with their biology, I just think that uh, again, the all of the normal ways in which we would go through the processes, the legal processes of determining what is legal, what isn't legal, have been sidestepped. And instead, there are these decrees being made by school boards and people who really don't have authority to sidestep these rules. Then they're just doing it. And before you know it, it's happening. And then we're hearing about it. And people are saying, well, how did that happen? Finding out that we can't just sit in our living rooms and watch the news, that you must go to the school board meetings, that this is where it's happening. It's not being legislated and then passing down. It's actually coming from the bottom up. They're doing it. And then there's things that are being pushed saying, see what we have here. And even if you don't have any kids in school, you are paying, if you're a property owner, you're paying school taxes. You are funding this. And we just really need to, not just the parents that are going to the schools, but also the citizens that are living in those communities, because these are the children that are going to be coming up to govern in your community.
Yeah, that's so
You're
true.
not going, you aren't going to be non-affected just because you have no children in school.
Yeah, that you're just hitting the nail on the head right there.
Yeah.
And that's why we want to just do all we can to try to inform people. Some people don't even realize the evil that's happening in our culture. Now, also, now parents should also have the right to know what curriculum is being taught to their children. Now, they're teaching this 1619 project, which is a lie about the history of this country. They're teaching our children sex ed, which is ridiculous for little babies. Now, see, children will play and they're innocent, like you say, oh, this is my friend, I love her, I love him. The critical race is a Marxist theology, and it's very dangerous, and judging people because of the color of their skin. And the Black Lives Matter movement, not Black Lives Matter because all lives matter, but the Black Lives Matter Inc. is a Marxist communist organization, and they tell you that. Matter of fact, this Colors, who bought all these millions of dollars in homes. I mean, this woman has gotten rich off of BLM. She's gotten very wealthy off, and now she's resigned from whatever part she played in, the board of whatever of this organization. But it's really a sham organization, and they have an evil agenda, and they go after the children, and they should not have curriculum in our schools. They should have no part in it because they are evil. Their intentions are evil for children. Everybody goes after the babies, they go after these little ones who are innocent and can't defend themselves. Anyway, just said a mouthful there.
No, but you are absolutely correct. And they have gotten into the schools. They're pushing these agendas. They are teaching children to discriminate against each other. Yep. They're filling their heads with lies and indoctrination. And I think that, organizations like PragerU, they have a K through 12 program. There are other organizations as well that have programs. And I think that we really have to become activists in our own schools together, going to those board meetings, getting kids out of those systems into other systems, and taking that right through to the schools that have been set up at the borders. The schools that have been set up at the borders. And Dolores, if we have to package it so it looks all rosy, package it whatever way you package it, but get those schools open so we can start to put these children into schools that are going to teach them American history, the real American dream, the reality of what really built this country, the things that they're teaching children in these countries. This is nothing new. This has been done repeatedly in history and has been the downfall of countries. And they're not teaching children those lessons, but we can.
Yes, we can, and we say? We can and we must.
Yes, and we must. Absolutely. We can and we must.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country, because communism, Marxism, that stuff is real and is coming to take America out. And unfortunately, too many people don't realize, but communism is very prevalent in so many politicians and so many people in this country. And we can't be naive about that.
No, it's they have taken it a little at a time. There's a book written years ago called Nudge, and it's just called, you just nudge a little bit here, you just take a little bit there, and before you know it. And if I could give you the analogy, it's almost like the liberals use, like, let's take the tapestry really, really close at it. Let's get right down and just look at that little area. There's threads hanging. It doesn't look, color's wrong and it's horrible, and pull that out and get rid of it. But when you they don't want you backing up to see it's just a little piece of tapestry that's in this incredibly picture. And that if you want to take something apart, you can take it down to just don't look at anything else. Pay no attention to anything else that's going on around you. Just look at this one little thread that I'm telling you is a bad thing. And that's what they do. And they do it in all kinds of other areas and start pulling the threads in all these different areas. And before you know it, they're unraveling the fabric of our nation.
Yep.
And that
Yep.
has got to stop. And it's one thing to say stop them. It's another thing to start doing what you need to do separately, because you're not going to get them to stop. They once were a little voice in the background that you heard and thought, those are crazy. That'll never happen. But guess what? It's happening.
Oh, yeah.
So you need to be the voice in the background.
Oh,
That's the point. To be the voice in the background there, but then we have to start our own agendas and our own things that we're doing, put our kids in those programs, do exactly what they're doing. Because that's the only way we're going to salvage this group of young people. We've got a whole bunch of young people coming up through this system right now.
Yep.
And they need to be saved. And if we don't do something, we're going to be living under their tyranny.
That's right. And we see it happening. Look at the colleges.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's ridiculous what's happening. You can't trust your children in college today. They have to be well-rounded and know what they know, and first know God, and then from there they have to know the truth of the history of this country, the founding of this country on the Bible, and those things they have to know, and that's not an agenda that's being taught.
And instead of critical race theory, they should be teaching them critical thinking. No, they got rid of critical thinking and replaced it with just regurgitate back what we told you to think. And if you don't say what they told you to think, you're going to fail. That's not critical thinking.
No, it's not. And even teaching higher levels of math. Oh, no, we got to just teach remedial. We can't teach them math. We got to keep them dumbed down. Keep our babies dumbed down, you know? And don't get me started on the border. You know, Greg Abbott wants Texas to finish building that border wall. And you know, the Biden administration is suing them. They want to sue them for wanting to protect the state of Texas from all the illegal. There is more. We have like a 20 plus year high number of people coming into the border of America, and they are deliberately being let in, and is to transform America. And Barack Obama declared a few years ago, on his first day when he was inaugurated, he said, the fundamental transformation of America has begun. And I just believe he's working behind the scenes to continue his 8 years of presidency. I think this is really the third term of Barack Obama happening, and as we speak. Yeah.
It is. It is the third term of Barack Obama, but I'm of the school of thought that this is happening. And when liberals are in power, it's happening. So I really believe that the conservative movement has to get down there to the border, open up their own schools, as I said earlier, and start filtering these people in through the scope of conservatism.
Yes.
And then, okay, they're saying that they don't want to send certain people back, whatever. But if we set up our own systems down there, they set up their own system. They've just got their own system. Like, the heck with whatever the rules are. We're just going to do it the way we want to do it. Well, two can play that game. Yes. And if they're already bringing people in that aren't going to get sent back, particularly the children, then we should be stepping in right now and harnessing those children that are going to be here anyway. Instead of wringing our hands and saying, oh my heavens, yes, we should continue to try to stop it. We have to put the right people in power. We have to infiltrate the Republican Party and get rid of the do-nothing people that are, acquiescing to whatever this pressure is, and start to do exactly to the Republican Party. Conservatism should be to the Republican Party what communism has become to the Democratic Party.
Yes.
That's what has to happen. We can't change the Democrats per se, but we can change the face of the Republican Party. That's what we need to be doing. We need to be in there, be in all the meetings, and get in positions of power in our own party, because that's how we're going to make these changes. You can't wait for the party to do it. You have to be the party that does it.
Yes. That is so true. So true. Now, Colleen, Monday is Flag Day.
Mm.
And I want to ask you right now, before we continue, to say the Pledge of Allegiance together, if we can. I pledge allegiance
to the
to the
flag
flag of the
of the
United States
of
of
America
America
and
and
to
to
the
the
republic
republic for
for
which
which
it
it stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
with liberty
liberty and
and
justice
justice for all.
for all. Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Now, I wanted to bring up something that, and I don't watch The View.
Mm.
I've just seen the ads play. Sunny Hostin, I didn't even know who the lady was,
Mhm.
but this lady earns millions of dollars. Do you know that those people working on The View, they earn millions of dollars?
Mhm.
And I see so many people who are here in America. They're complaining so much about how unfair America is, but yet they're living lives that only God could have given them. And I don't see any gratefulness. So
Right.
instead of saying, well, what has God done for you? He has blessed these people immeasurably more than they could be blessed any other place. But yet they complain, complain, complain. Now, this Sonny Hostin, she defended Mara Gray. This lady works for the New York Times. She went to Long Island visiting her really dear friend, she said. She
Mm.
was so disturbed. She said, "Oh, I saw dozens of pickup trucks with expletives, that's what she said, against Joe Biden. And on the back of them, I saw Trump flags. And in some cases, just dozens of American flags. Oh, and that was so disturbing." And essentially, she said, the message is clear. This is my country.
Mm.
This is not your country. I own this. And this lady said, the flag means communism.
Mhm.
How sick is that? And then she said, how could our country, I'm just asking, how could our country be taught in this way? We're all Americans. How could this lady look at the flag, go and visit a community, see the flag of the country that you grew up in, that you belong to, and get triggered by the United States flag?
Mhm.
I I almost flipped back when I said, wait a minute. Every person in this country, we are Americans. Nobody can tell us anything different except ourselves. I didn't know if you saw that clip, but I just wanted
Yes.
to bring it up because it was just a little disturbing to me.
Yeah, I did. I saw the clip. She actually went a step further and called it that it was now, it wasn't the American flag, it was the flag of white supremacy. That's what she said. And this is all part and parcel of the
Yeah.
rebranding
Yep.
and frankly the disrespect,
Yes.
because what's happening is they want they want people to disrespect each other, and now you have to disrespect the flag, disrespect the history, tear down the statues, tear down anything that it's about really the tearing apart,
Yeah.
the
Remaking America. Yeah.
the undermining
Yeah.
of the respectfulness.
Mm.
Anything that was respected that had to do with representation of our nation is on the agenda to be destroyed.
Yeah.
And there is no little piece that they're going to leave untouched.
Yeah.
So this is again a perfect example of somebody, and as you said earlier, they're just saying it out loud.
Oh yeah.
They absolutely are
Not
saying
even
it out
hiding it.
loud. They hate the country. They hate the people who live in the
Yeah.
country. And they're not really not offering any alternative.
No.
It's like this continuous tantrum while they go about being really used as pawns
Yeah.
in Obama third term,
Yeah.
which is, Joe Biden, the master puppeteer, Mr. Obama.
Yep. Yeah,
It's
he's
it's
working behind.
disgraceful. It's disgraceful and it's disrespectful.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the Obamas have been blessed, just like Oprah Winfrey and all these others, and so many. LeBron James, I hear them complaining all the time. I said, don't you realize how blessed you are? You're blessed beyond what so many could be, but yet you're not even grateful. And this is the message I say to Black people. Don't look at where you've been. Look at where God has brought you from and look at what you can do. And the same thing, like some of these parents, I hear them beautifully saying, I don't want you teaching my children this hate, because you can do anything you want to be. You can be whatever you want to be if you're willing to work. Nobody's going to give it to you. And you should learn to work for what it is you want.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to teach our children. If you can accomplish anything by the grace of God, you can do anything.
Yeah, I think it was Mark Robinson at the North Carolina GOP convention that talked about that as well. I mean, it's not
Yes.
how you start the race, it's how you finish that counts.
Yes.
And you can finish wherever you take your goals to. But, he was a breath of fresh air.
Oh
He
my
just
goodness.
calls it as it is,
Yeah.
and says it as it is. And people shouldn't be afraid to do that. You
No.
should be, he was just, anybody who hasn't seen his speech
Yes.
from that North Carolina GOP, you can go right online and find it. It hasn't been taken down yet.
Yeah.
But he is an amazing man.
Yes.
He talks about exactly that. He talked about the people being thankful for where they are, and as part of that, these people that are demanding now that they should get reparations or that they've been harmed in some way, he said, you're the one that nobody owes you. You owe a debt. You owe a debt to the people that stood shoulder to shoulder at the Civil War and then stood up. You owe a debt to the people that marched with Martin Luther King. You owe a debt to the people that paved the way with their lives and their blood so you could have the freedom you have today. And, no group has been, not discriminated against. I mean, the Irish were brought over in ships in the hulls of ships and used as slaves in this country too. There are people, the Chinese that were brought over to build the railroads. I mean, there was just people have been discriminated against all over the world. We're the only nation, God-blessed nation on the face of the earth that looked at those things and said, you know what, we're going to build it into the fabric of our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, that everybody, that our Creator has endowed us with these inalienable rights. Not another man, but that God gave us these rights, and therefore everybody's entitled to them.
That's right. We're blessed to be Americans now. We have people knocking down the door to come in here. They're fleeing communism, but yet we have people who are communists that will indoctrinate them into what they're fleeing. And this is why we do have to educate them when they come in.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you'll be in the same place. You have the same thing that you're fleeing right here in America if we don't change course.
And we can do it.
Yes, we
can do it. We have God and the Holy Spirit on our side. We have lots of people who love the country and love each other. We can do this.
That's right. That's right. Now, things in America are out of control right now, Colleen. We look at the inflation and we look at what our government is doing. Joe Biden now has proposed a $6 trillion budget on top of everything else that's being spent. That's not sustainable. Look at the gas price. Everything under the roof of this nation is being turned on its head. Inflation, everything is going up. I don't care if you what you are, if you Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. If you go to the store, you go into the gas pump, Everything you see right in front of your eyes, the prices are going through the roof. And people trying to, I wouldn't want to be building a home right now because the price of lumber is like up over 800%. It's way up. But it is, our capitalist system is being destroyed from within. And do you know that over $400 billion were stolen from the US government and unemployment by the Chinese, the Russians, and there was Nigerians?
Yeah.
Over $400 billion were stolen in unemployment, fraudulent payments. Now, who's giving out this money? Who's controlling this money? Who's making sure? In the first place, we need to stop paying people to stay home because we have a lot of jobs out there, Colleen, that cannot be or not being filled because people are making more money to stay home and collect unemployment.
Exactly.
So jobs are not being filled. Now, how many of these companies are going to go under because they can't find anybody to work? And the workers have better get back to work because that unemployment is not going to last forever. I say, get off your booty and go back to work now, because otherwise, one day when you do want to go back to work, the job's not going to be there. Exactly. And the government's not going to be able, sugar daddy, what they call it, sugar daddy is not going to be able to take care of you, nor should you be dependent on sugar daddy to take care of you.
Yeah, you'll be at the top of the bottom.
Yeah.
So it's not, again, I think that all of this movement of money, the way that's, I mean, just because of my financial background and what I do for a living, when I look at it and think, okay, what's giving all this money out really about? I mean, you can package it as we care so much about the American people, but I don't think it's about that at all.
Nope.
It's about moving big money to places and funding things with government money and whatever you don't get from the taxpayer. When you print more money, which this country has the ability to do, unlike many other nations, you just take the pie and divide it up into smaller and smaller pieces. Yeah. And after the Second World War, Germany, you had people with wheelbarrows full of marks going to get a loaf of bread. I mean, you think that can't happen here, but it can.
Oh,
and Chinese would love to see that happen.
Yeah.
They love it.
Oh, I know.
So, there's all forms of, it's all the unintended consequences of the things they want to tell you should do now. Like even with the price of oil, and they say, oh, well, let's get rid of, cars that run on gasoline by 2035. And, but a lot has been done to address that fuel and its emissions and what happens to it ultimately. But meanwhile, they're telling you solar is the way to go and these battery operated cars. What are you going to do with all those batteries? You got to, I don't know. I got a drawer full of batteries right now that just, I've got to figure out a way to dispose of them. Can you imagine now millions and millions of batteries from cars that are electric cars that are supposed to be so wonderful that now have to be disposed of?
Yeah.
That's going to have to go in the ground or somewhere, right? Yeah. I thought that we were supposed to be concerned about the environment. But these are the unintended consequences. Every single fuel source that we use is going to have some consequence. Yeah. But what we've done with the oil industry and with gasoline, we've addressed so many of those.
Yes.
In this part of the world, we have the lowest emissions of the world in this kind of thing. So. Yes. You have to look at it and say, okay, somebody wants to make a lot of money and they're going to do it with legislation. But to think that you're going to put all these people out of work and just sit by and let it happen without talking about things like the unintended consequences of batteries building up, we could stop that in its tracks. Now, should we have different diversified types of energy that people can choose from? Absolutely. But to just now ram certain things down our throats and then cut off the livelihoods of other people just because in the name of being green, it's not very green. So let's start calling the truth out on that one as well.
That's right. The people of Texas found out how well green works when they had that
Yeah.
the freezing. And the very thing that they're getting rid of, petroleum, that's what they had to use to put on those windmills to unfreeze them. They had to use petroleum. But you know, Colleen, it's so ridiculous. God gave us gas. He gave us petroleum. It's in abundance under our feet that God gave us to use. If it were not safe for us to use, He wouldn't have given it to us. God gave it to us. Like you say, we should be doing all.
Mhm.
And nuclear energy and all, we should be using everything. Now, on the coast of California, now I heard that they're planning to stop drilling here. I know Long Beach, LA, they still drill oil. Now,
Mhm.
these crazies out in California, excuse my language, but they want to get rid of that.
Yeah.
And that's going to put more inflation and more money out of the pockets of people in California, where we already pay more than anybody else. But you know, a few years ago, they were saying, oh, well, you know, the American people need to pay $7, $8 a gallon for gas. We need to match the Europeans. They said this years ago.
Yeah.
But now they're trying to get their wish that we pay, and eventually they want to take us out of our gas driven cars, and everybody, you got to pay $50,000 to buy a new car that's electric. I can just see the freeway lined up right now, Colleen, with a whole bunch of cars. They're all stuck on the freeway because nobody can get, because our electric grid cannot support, we can't support,
Exactly.
we can't support all these electric cars, and it's ridiculous when we have gas under our feet that we should be taking advantage of. It's ridiculous. Just
It is. It is. And I think that, it just demonstrates again that all these little areas, it seems, if you have to run in 10 different directions, sometimes you can't focus on something. So we have to have, that's why we really have to get control of the party itself.
yes,
And, not give the voices of the people that are conservative the mechanism through which we can actually address all of these things. The
yeah,
mechanism that we've had, the people that have been in there are not doing it.
yeah,
So we have to infiltrate that party, get ourselves there, take over the positions of power, and get to work, because that's how we're going to be able to really fight this on every front, all
yeah,
the little fires that are all over the place.
yeah,
We can do it, and we should. I know I'm up for it, and certainly I know you are already,
yes, yeah. By the grace of God,
by the grace of God.
Yeah. Well, my goodness, this has just been great. I've kind of got some steam blowed off my head today. So
Yeah.
great talking to you. Yeah. Now I love that you are a Christian and that you were raised Catholic.
Mhm.
And I like you're saying, all glory be to God.
All glory to
And
God. It's
that's who,
all Him.
yes, all Him, nothing of us, but all of Him. And as I said at the beginning, our God is great and greatly to be praised. I'm just thankful. I am grateful,
Yeah,
Colleen.
absolutely.
And
I am too. I'm grateful for you. I am grateful for all of the blessings that the Lord has given me. And it's all about Him, and it's for Him, and it's to glorify Him and be a good ambassador.
yes,
I never worry about what I'm doing, like, because He's always with me. So you're never
yeah,
alone. I never have to worry about what's
yeah,
happening. I just know that, just go down the path that He puts you on, and know that you're doing what's the right thing in your heart, according to the Lord, not according to what's in your head as a person, but according to
yes,
the Lord. And if you don't know what you should be doing, just open up His book. He's
that's
got a
right.
manual.
That's right.
He
The
got a
Bible.
manual.
And it has all the instructions that we
Has
need.
all the
What it
instructions.
say? Basic instruction before leaving Earth, the Bible.
Absolutely. Amen. Amen.
Well, Colleen, thank you so much for sharing today. I just love this discussion with you. And I want to give you the opportunity to share any final words, how people can contact you, or if you want to give your websites or whatever. And if you have anything that you want to have written out, get it to me right away so we can get that put on your description.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank you so much, Dolores, for thinking of me and for being my friend and coming into my life, the Lord bringing you into my path. Um, I can't put my head on the pillow at night unless I feel like I've done something to be helpful to others. And you can go to my website if you want to see others' experience. I do have people on there that kind of tell about their experience working with us. The website is www.cm, like my initials, associates.com. So cmassociates.com. And one of the things we pride ourselves on is just being able to give people information so they can make a good decision, an educated decision. So whether or not we are able to assist somebody at the time that they contact us, whether it's insurance or estate planning, we're happy to give you all the information. Our reviews and consultations are all free. So we're happy to be able to assist you with getting the right information so you can make a good decision about how you should be managing your assets. So, and then at the end of the day, I can always feel like, Lord, it's not about, I guess, how much business and dollars and cents I did today. It's about, did I touch somebody's life? Was I able to make a difference? And that would affect them in a positive way. Because as long as I'm doing that, the Lord has made sure that this bad habit I have of needing to eat and pay my bills is being provided for.
Yes. Yeah, that's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
He watches out for his own.
He does.
Yeah.
He does.
Amen. Yes. And now I want to thank my audience. Those of you who come each week, share this information, share this podcast with your friends so that they can be informed. And not everybody's going to agree, and that's okay. But I'm okay with people disagreeing, because I know what, Colleen? I know we've spoken the truth. We have not lied. We have told the truth. And sometimes the truth is a little hard to take, But anyway, just watch and listen and pass it on. And go to DW's View standup@gmail.com. And don't forget, friends, hit that button and subscribe to my channel. And if you want to support this program by being a sponsor, we'd love to have you do that. But the main thing is to share this message with your friends. Stand up for what's right. And my challenge to each of you, stand up, dear friends, because guess what? If we do not stand up for what we believe, what's right, who will?